Tonight, we're stepping off the tube, pulling on our overcoats, and walking straight into the grey, foggy, gloriously strange world of 1950s London. Not the London of royal weddings and polished guidebooks. The real London. The one that smelled of coal smoke and boiled cabbage, where your neighbour knew exactly what you had for dinner because the walls were that thin, and where the height of luxury was a tin of biscuits you were saving for Christmas. The war had just ended, and nobody quite knew what came next. This is the story of the 8 million people who lived it every single day. You're lying in a narrow bedroom in a Victorian terrace somewhere in Bermondsey, Hackney, or Shepherd's Bush, and the first thing you notice is the cold. Not a gentle morning chill. A full bone-settling, nose-numbing cold that has crept in overnight because there is no central heating in this house. There has never been central heating in this house. The window has a faint skin of condensation on the inside. Somewhere downstairs, a kettle is beginning to whistle, which means your mother or your wife has been up for 20 minutes already, because that is simply how it works. The bathroom, if your house has one, is a small unheated room with lino so cold underfoot it functions essentially as a punishment. The hot water comes from a gas geyser bolted to the wall above the bath, device that looks like it was designed during the Blitz and has been quietly threatening to explode ever since. You light it with a match, stand back, wait for the little clunk that tells you it has decided not to kill you today. Not every house has a bathroom at all. You might have a tin bath brought out on Friday nights, filled with kettles boiled on the stove. The whole family uses it in sequence, same water, in order of seniority. By the time the youngest gets in, the water requires a certain fortitude to enter voluntarily. Breakfast in a working family home during this period is not a meal so much as a philosophical commitment to the color beige. Rationing only ended fully in 1954, which means for the first half of the decade, everything from butter to bacon is still being doled out in carefully weighed portions. You get your ration of margarine, your egg, maybe fried in lard in a pan that has been seasoned by 400 previous fry-ups and has never once been washed with soap. The fry-up is the gold standard when the budget allows, approached with a seriousness that borders on ceremonial. Bacon, an egg, a fried slice of bread soaking up whatever grease is left. And wasting food is not a personal choice, it is a moral failing with neighborhood witnesses. Tea is the first thing and the last thing and the thing between things. It is brewed in a pot which has been warming with a splash of boiling water first, and it is the color of a well-worn boot. You do not make a single cup. You make a pot. The pot stays on the table all morning, cozy on top like a little fabric hat keeping it warm. Tea is not a drink in 1950s London. It is a social institution, a comfort blanket, a lubricant for every conversation, and the correct response to any form of bad news. Someone has died? Put the kettle on. Someone is getting married? Put the kettle on. The ceiling has fallen in? Put the kettle on. It is never the wrong answer. You step outside and the cold hits you like a wall made of fog and regret. The street is already busy. Everyone walks in 1950s London. The bus is the great democratizer. The red double-decker, specifically, the RT type, a vehicle so reliably present on London roads that it functions almost as street furniture. You queue for it. You queue properly, in a line, because queuing is not just politeness in this city, it is a moral code. The bus conductor calls out the stops in a voice that has been worn smooth by repetition. Inside, the air is thick with cigarette smoke and damp wool. Every window is fogged. You cannot see out, but it does not matter. You know every stop by heart. Work in 1950s London is physical. For men, it means factories, warehouses, building sites, the docks. For women, it means offices, shops, schools, and then coming home to do all the housework on top. The working day is long, typically 8 hours with a short lunch break, and the wages are modest. A skilled factory worker might take home around £8 a week. Out of that comes rent, food, coal, gas, and whatever small comforts can be squeezed from what remains. There is no credit card culture. If you cannot afford it, you do not have it. This creates a particular kind of honesty in daily life. You know exactly what your neighbor earns because they do roughly what you do, and you both know exactly what things cost. The high street is the center of daily life. Not a shopping center. A high street with proper shops, each one run by someone you know by name. The butcher, the baker, the greengrocer, the newsagent, the chemist. You do not go to one shop. You go to all of them because none of them sell everything. Shopping is a daily errand, not a weekly one, because very few homes have a refrigerator. You buy what you need for today. The butcher knows your order. The greengrocer puts aside the best apples for Mrs. Henderson at number 14 because she always asks. Ration books are still part of the transaction for the first half of the decade, small booklets of coupons that the shopkeeper clips with a satisfying snip. Children in 1950s London have a freedom that would terrify a modern parent. They play in the street. They play on bomb sites, which are still everywhere, gaps in the terrace like missing teeth where a house used to be, now colonized by weeds and children building camps from rubble and old corrugated iron. School is strict. The teacher's authority is absolute and backed up by the cane, which is used not as a last resort but as a routine instrument of discipline. The 11+ exam determines your entire future at an age when you still believe in Father Christmas. Pass it and you go to grammar school. Fail it and you go to the secondary modern, and everyone knows what that means. And then came December 1952, and London discovered that the fog it had always lived with could kill. For 5 days, a dense yellow-black smog settled over the city. You could not see your hand in front of your face. Buses stopped running. Ambulances could not find their way. People walked with handkerchiefs over their mouths and still choked. Theaters closed because audiences could not see the stage. By the time it lifted, an estimated 4,000 people had died, and some estimates put it far higher. It was the moment London finally had to confront what it was doing to itself. The Clean Air Act followed in 1956, and it changed everything. But for those 5 days in December, the city had been genuinely terrifying. The pub is the living room you do not have to clean. It is warm, it is loud, and it is full of people you have known for 20 years. The beer is served at cellar temperature, which is to say not cold, and this is considered correct. Lager exists, but it is not what anyone drinks unless they are on holiday or showing off. The publican knows your name, your usual, and probably your business. There is no music, no television, no fruit machine. There is conversation, darts, dominoes, and the slow comfortable ritual of a pint that has not changed in 100 years. On a Friday night, the pub is full. On a Sunday lunchtime, it is where men go after the roast, leaving the women to the washing up. If you have a television, and most people do by the end of the decade, it is small, it has a wooden cabinet, and it has one channel. The BBC. A second channel, ITV, arrives in 1955 and is regarded by some as the end of civilization. The picture is black and white, slightly curved at the edges, and occasionally rolls vertically for no reason. Families gather around it in the evening like a campfire, watching variety shows, newsreels, and the coronation of Elizabeth II in 1953, which is watched by more people than anything in human history up to that point. The wireless, the radio, is still the more reliable companion in most homes. It sits in the corner of the living room like a small warm altar to the BBC Home Service. Sunday in 1950s London is a day so quiet it practically holds its breath. Every shop is shut. Not most shops. Every single shop. The streets are empty. The buses run on a reduced timetable or not at all. The morning is for church if you go, and millions still do. The afternoon is for the Sunday roast, which is the meal around which the entire week revolves. Beef, Yorkshire pudding, roast potatoes, 2 vegetables, and gravy made from the meat juices in the tin. It is the one meal of the week that is never compromised. The evening is for cold cuts, perhaps a trifle, and the slow descent into Monday morning, which nobody looks forward to. Sunday is not fun. Sunday is not meant to be fun. It is meant to be orderly, quiet, and British. These people did not think of themselves as resilient. Resilience was not a word they used about themselves. They just got on with it. Got on with the cold, the grey food, the long shifts, the slow accumulation of a life built from small reliable things. The Sunday roast, the clean step, the cup of tea, the street they knew well enough to navigate in fog. They were not perfect. The decade was not perfect. But they were stubborn and kind in the particular undemonstrative way that working London is kind. And they built something. The NHS, the clean air, the council houses, the dance halls, the communities that are still visible in the city today if you know where to look. History may be cold and smoky and occasionally terrifying, but it is also always people doing their best in the circumstances they were handed. And the people of 1950s London handled most of them with a composure that deserves more credit than it usually gets. Sleep well. You've earned it.